Hola to Le Monde, it's Devin Francis, also known as a Leonard Meltzner.
And I hope my dog behaves during this recording.
And you're watching episode 155 of the Adventures in Odyssey Oddcast.
Oh, Devin, we're so old.
I know.
155?
Mm-hmm.
We're 155 days old. That's so old.
That's how long it would take to watch this whole podcast.
Hey, Devin, I think my summer vacation is over. Wheels away aggressively. Oh, no, I'm stuck.
There's 155 episodes of summer vacation. School comes along just to end it. And now we get copyright struck in. Straught. What are we doing today, Victoria?
The finale episodes of album 65. Neither of which are related to each other.
And what also, because we'll be finishing up album 65, which means we also have to do...
album review!
Yay!
We're going to review the album, and we're going to say whether it's a yay or it's a nay. And then we're going to talk about, since we're on the topic of horses, why not talk about a topic we haven't discussed to death with throwing that axe?
Sure. Okay. Episode 854, Not What I Expected, written by Kathy Buchanan. Kathy wrote half of this album, I believe.
Hey, Devin.
Yeah.
Was this episode what you expected?
Pretty much.
Really? It wasn't for me. I really liked it. Not that I didn't think I was gonna like it. When I heard Emily's voice at first, I was like, it's gonna be a Maury episode. 2 in 1. Heck yes. And there was no Maury.
The thing that I didn't expect was the fact that, this, Mr. Wexford erasure that we got in his funeral home, and it was like...
But yeah, really sudden,
I'll theorize about... I know.
He was mentioned at June's...
I know.
I forgot about that.
But we'll talk about that later. What happens in this episode?
I was really worried when I heard, we're gonna go be working in a funeral home, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, it's probably not nice to, dump on people who work at funeral homes all the time, because a lot of people do, and I know that's, a common trope for, aptitude tests, certain jobs, you're just complaining about them because it's gonna be so bad. I have to work with dead people. Ugh. And I was kind of okay, yeah, we're gonna do this, I guess. And they end the episode, and it's just I had a lot of fun, and I really liked that job, and I'm proud that I was able to contribute there, and I felt really happy about it, and I was just what is this? This is so good. I thought positive. I like it a lot.
When they were like, "Oh man, that was the worst possible result to get on the aptitude test," I was like, "Well, clearly you guys did not take the aptitude test that they used in What Are You Gonna Do with Your Life? You didn't get person who hand paints anime figurines or glues together cardboard tabs on boxes or whatever it was."
Yeah, and I guess this isn't the first time that Odyssey's kind of inverted the quote-unquote bad aptitude test result.
Oh yeah, because Pipe Dreams.
They did that in Pipe Dreams.
I didn't even think about that.
I really liked this episode.
So what happened, Drew?
In this episode, we have Zoe, and we have Emily, and we have Jay. And so these three crazy kids do their aptitude tests.
Wow.
2 of them do them properly. In the end, Jay and Zoe end up going to a funeral home. And to become funeral directors and learn about that kind of thing. And Emily goes to do lawyer stuff. Upon my reaction being what? I thought she wanted to do this, and then she didn't. And then they mentioned oh yeah, your dad's a judge. I was oh right, that was judge work. I was man, being a lawyer and being a judge, so different. Remember how Emily complained about all those rules, and she's I want to be a lawyer. And I was okay. Okay, girl, you know what, you do you. Okay. So sometimes kids, it's just...
That's a good point, Victoria.
Yeah.
I was just doing
like
great
my first thought. I was like, I thought there's an episode about why you don't want to be a lawyer. And it was like, no, that was a judge. And I was like, but it's...
I had to like read so many books and there's so many laws and precedents. I'm going to intern at a law firm.
And then she like read all of them. She was like, "This is so interesting. I love it." I'm like, "Wow, you really changed your tune in like."
But only when it's about like
year.
levitating pie stands.
But I'm glad you changed your mind and you decided you liked something you didn't think you liked.
Except she didn't in the end.
Yeah, that's true. Do you think? And then she came home and she told her dad, and he's like, "Didn't you do that last year?" And she's like, "Oh man, you're right. I forgot."
Whoopsie doodle.
So, yeah.
Is that the end of your summary?
Oh,
is there another
they all have like a
episode?
Decently good time. Oh yeah, there's also another subplot. I forgot about that. There's that girl who Jillian
Marshall, double L,
Two
Jillian,
Ls.
double L, Marshall.
So she's the girl who just became the roommate for Jules and Connie.
Mm-hmm.
Connie and Jules.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like still trying to sell her jewelry and doing it in all the worst ways possible. It kind of reminded me of A Penny Saved. I think that's the one that comes first. With like Penny having all these like interactions with the police and being like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Running into Full House constantly, and he's like, Penny, stop sleeping in your car in the park.
And she's like, "Oh, officer, I opened the trunk. I opened the hood."
And both of them, were brought to the police station and then tried to like redesign the aesthetic.
I mean, it's just a very popular thing. Tell me you wouldn't do the same thing.
I imagine it's a very ugly police station based on our given evidence.
Literally every single person who gets arrested. Full House is just used to it. That's why he doesn't really react. You're just like, no, give the handcuffs back. Like, very monotone.
What they need is...
like, literally every single person who gets arrested, Odyssey police station is just, the first thing they do is they're like, this place is ugly, and we need to call Queer Eye to fix it up.
Victoria.
Yes?
Full House is the anti-fashion police.
Are you proud of that?
Yes. No, what they need is the gaudy police cruiser from the web quest on Walkworthy, where they're like, the Freedom Award, which is the highest award that the Trail Life can give out. One of the people it was awarded to was someone who was like, I just love the police and love state-sanctioned violence so much that I'm going to raise a bunch of money so we can redesign a police cruiser. And they got a bunch of 8th graders to create the design for it, so it was repainted with a bunch of...
And they spray painted the word Bodie McBoatface on it, and that was the entire redesign.
He was like, I just love the police so much, we're going to take this police cruiser, and they repainted it with a bunch of stars and stripes and eagles and the entire Pledge of Allegiance on the hood of the car. And I was like, that sounds so ugly, and also like the most horrifically dystopian image I can possibly picture in my mind. Like the most big, like, police cruisers that literally have like your pledge of nationalistic fealty painted entirely on the vehicle as it drives around. It's like, what a nightmarish image.
Okay,
So that's what they need to really spice up the fashion of the Odyssey Police Department, IMO.
What was I talking? Oh yeah. So then Jillian, and who helps her? Oh,
Emily. Yes.
Emily. Jillian and Emily get together
and Edward Snowden.
And
did you listen to
find these laws to just like fix all that stuff up, make it go away. Emily.
Did you listen to the video I sent you the other day that had the return of Edward Snowden in it?
Yes, I did.
I was so excited.
Also, I listened to the Edward Snowden episode, and there were other moments where he just randomly popped up.
I know, but this is like dozens of episodes later that this came back.
Yeah. But
so,
yes,
she helps her out, and then she gets her floating stand while she hits on Jason a bunch.
And she's like flirting with Jason, and she's like, "Oh, he's so hot," and I'm like, "Which version of Jason?" Because there are some that are and some that aren't.
She's into Silver Foxes.
Also, how old are you? And Jason's just like, oh, well, and I'm like, how old is she? But yeah.
So, from the top of this episode, they're talking about, we're doing our internship thing, doing the aptitude test. Connie mentions that they're in grade 8. And I was like, it is weird to me to think that this current generation of kids in the show is being in high school. And I know that grade 8 isn't high school most places, but it was for us, so that's how I think of it.
I mean, it's middle school for them.
I know, but still, that's like the last year of middle school. That's still teenagers, usually, depending on where your age bracket falls in the year. And if Emily is in grade 8, I realized that Emily must then be at least a year older than Matthew. Because Emily and Olivia then are in the same grade, and Olivia is Matthew's older sister. And I was like, yeah, I guess so. I never noticed that they don't, I guess, must not have classes together.
I mean, in that first episode with Buddy, are they just like hanging out together and he sees them? Or
were they only outside of class when we see them together? Because they were in the lunchroom the first time they see them.
Yeah, but wasn't there a clip of him in class?
With Miss Adelaide, but were they there as well?
I don't know. There could be like a split class or something like that.
Oh yeah, I forgot those exist. It's a Montessori school. Odyssey got really bougie all of a sudden. So yeah, I suddenly had this like existential crisis about like the ages in Odyssey when Connie said that, because I was like, I always
don't even think about it. It's just gonna hurt your brain.
I do have to, because if we ever want to do some kind of in-depth analysis of age in Odyssey, then we need to pay attention to these things. I don't think not that I can think of off the top of my head, do we necessarily know for sure that Emily and Matthew are the same age. It would explain like why Emily has such a like defined leadership role in their supposed partnership friendship.
Also the fact that I think it's kind of been established that she's smarter than him when it comes to
that's
mysteries.
Fair.
I wouldn't say she's like actually smarter than him, because I'd need to think about it more. They seem pretty equal to me.
Yeah.
But I think like in certain terms, like for certain
specific departments, yes.
She's smarter than him. But he's smarter than her at like machinery and stuff like that and inventing.
Yeah, at first I was like, Emily and Matthew are in the same grade, so if Emily's in grade 8, Olivia must be at least in grade 9, which would be like actual high school even in America and most places in Canada, really. I mean, we were kind of the exception, not having a middle school anymore in our town. But no, then I was like, oh yeah, she is in the internship. That does confirm that Emily and Olivia are in the same grade. Which also, because I checked, I was like, that also puts, who else was in there? That puts Valerie in there, and someone else I put later down farther on, because they were in the same class.
Edward Snowden.
And Jay is in there as well.
And Buck.
No, Buck's 16.
Oh.
He'd be in like grade 10.
Wait, aren't they
or
all
11.
in the same school? Maybe it's just one of those schools where it has like literally every single grade from kindergarten to grade 12.
Even though they say Odyssey Middle School and high school separately all the time.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Maybe they're really close to each other and they don't mind if students leave the school for certain times of the day.
Maybe, I thought America had truancy officers or whatever they're called, but maybe that's just a movie myth.
I don't know what that is.
They're like the people who arrest you if you skip school or leave campus. I think.
That's a thing.
I know. America's wild.
I'm so glad they don't have that for university. Actually, for university, you'd like never be able to leave, would you?
Yeah.
You'd just be stuck there forever.
That is how university works. Yeah, look at Eugene.
I thought you were going to say John Mulaney.
Yeah, that too. That's why
get a certificate for a language I already speak.
That's why he's eternally youthful, Victoria.
I saw a picture of him and
in 1943.
Anna? I think his wife's name is
yes.
Anna, on the like red carpet the other day, and I was just like, oh my gosh, they're both so beautiful.
So, speaking of Emily being at the law firm and choosing a law firm to intern, I really liked how her excuse for choosing a law firm to intern instead of detective work is, well, you still get to pursue justice, and it connects with my dad's job and stuff. She makes no mention of the real reason, which is that the only way to do the alternative would be to intern with Harlow Doyle. There is also Pull House, but we know he's not going to take a middle school internship. So no matter how much she may have played into his taking down the GRC, he wouldn't go for that. And so she was like, it's Harlow Doyle or being a lawyer. Yeah, I guess I can forget everything I learned in Great Expectations to make this compromise. So, like you said, or like I said before, then you commented on it. Yes, June's, I was a bit offended at first. I was like, because Connie's like, oh yeah, what's his face's funeral home? He really helped out a lot with my mom's funeral.
Wex's?
What? Sorry?
Wex's funeral home?
No, the one in this episode. She was like Mr. Aweka or whatever. He really helped out with my mom's funeral. And I was like, excuse me, June's funeral was done by Wexford's, just like Mildred's. What are you talking about, Connie? Did you have multiple funeral homes collaborate on her funeral? But then I realized I don't think that works like that. Also, I was like, I don't think Odyssey is quite big enough to have multiple funeral homes competing for business. But
maybe it's like a joint partnership thing.
No, what I finally realized probably happened is that this guy was like the apprentice to Mr. Wexford. And
Mr. Wexford is dead?
Yes.
Who arranged
He
did.
Funeral? Mr. Wicker, or whatever his name is. He was the apprentice.
No, that's supposed to be like a question that never has an answer. It's like, who would arrange the funeral
watches the
funeral director?
That he probably did help work on June's funeral, working there, and then Mr. Wexford passed away, and now he has taken over the business. And I was like, that actually is probably the most likely scenario.
Possibly, but are you sure?
So,
are you sure about that?
Jay and Zoe are together here doing this thing.
I actually didn't mind Jay in this episode.
Except for the fact that he like hacked into the system so that he could like be with Zoe. I thought this was worse than the other one.
I thought it was gonna be like, I never really thought about the fact that he might have somehow tampered with his results or something like that. I was just like, wow, that's a weird coincidence. I thought it was just like
I could see it.
I thought it was just like, hey, narratively, we want to throw these two together. So, also, at the end, I hated the ending of the episode. Okay, you know how so many times I talk about the fact that, like, I hate things where it's just like everyone laughs about a joke and the episode ends on that. So this episode ended that way, and the joke was something that made me cringe so bad. It wasn't even a joke. Like, it just made me fearful for Zoe. It was just like, Zoe said like, hey.
Oh, yeah.
Emily, make sure you become a lawyer so you can get me a restraining order against Jay. And then, like, everyone starts laughing and the episode ends. And I was just like...
Yeah. I was, like, not chill with that line. I was like, I am starting to get really annoyed by the fact that Zoe is clearly... There's one thing if Jay is, like, hitting on her and she's not really doing anything. Zoe...
Like, I didn't even know until these past couple episodes that she even knew he liked her. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, he keeps on crossing some lines, but at least she doesn't, like, know about that and, like, doesn't have to worry about that or anything. But no, she does. And she is...
The fact that Zoe is clearly stating her intentions not only to Jay, but to others like Connie and Jillian, and everyone is just laughing it off, is very deeply concerning to me. Jay needs a lesson to learn about the meaning of consent and the word no. Like, that is an episode.
I will teach him.
That we need.
I will adopt him and I will teach him. Oh, also, we forgot to mention in the Walkworthy review that the reason Jay was actually in the Wood Boys was because his mom wanted him to become a Wood Boy.
Yes.
It wasn't, like, of his own volition. But Yeah, his great parents. Also, I want his mom to show up. Like, I'm like, your parents, do they teach you any of these things, child?
So, yeah, so in the meantime, until that restraining order hopefully comes through one day in real life, in reality, until then, we have Zoe and Jay together, and they're being funeral friends, which I was like, that would have been a great title for this episode. I do think Embalming Buddies is the best pick. But
I really liked Embalming Buddies. I was like, heck yeah, that made me laugh a little bit. The funeral director's jokes about the dead bodies in front of him, I was just like,
so
yikes.
good. So good.
Yikes. And I was thinking, I'm so glad, like, no clients are in the building. I hope he doesn't do that in front of people. He's like, oh, my grandmother just died. And he's just like...
It's like Scrubs, Victoria.
I don't like Scrubs, though.
I know, neither do I.
I watched like 2 episodes and I hated it.
But I'm saying, you know how people always say that officially Scrubs was recognized as being far and away the most accurate medical show ever made, because that is the kind of way that you have to treat your life when you work with that much death in order to emotionally process it.
Yeah,
and also,
fair.
From what I've heard, it also takes some of that in working with the people to like kind of cheer them up and keep them going through it as well. And that arterial vein joke that he did was pretty good. I really liked his jokes.
I didn't get that joke at all. Don't explain it to me. What did you think of Jillian in the episode?
I was so glad that she was back. I was so excited. Jillian and Jason and Polehouse, not expecting any of them in the episode. I can't believe that Jillian literally Ron Swansoned her business permit as she was holding it up. I was like,
the second before she pulled it out, I was like, I can do whatever I want, Jillian. And then it was just like, okay, yep, this is a permit and your name is signed on it. And I was like, yeah.
It was almost word for word like the scene from Parks and Rec. I was so happy.
Here, I have a permit. I can do what I want. Ron Swanson.
Oh, I love her so much, Victoria.
I
was like...
It was very good.
She also just needed... Like, she couldn't be on public property, but I was like, you just need a business willing to allow you to set up your booth on the edge of their property. Like, it wouldn't be easy, per se, but this current situation isn't the end of the road for your business in Odyssey like she was making it out to be. It would have been easier, I would imagine, in any other circumstance than how this turned out. Then, like,
Connie was in this episode too, wasn't she?
Yeah. Then going down all the legal loopholes, trying to figure out, like, going through the law precedent to try and figure out how to make it work. And Connie brings up, she's like, you can display your wares at multiple local shops for a commission. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. There are plenty of other options, but, you know, whatever. Hire a 12-year-old lawyer.
What was I gonna say? Oh, I was just really... I really wished that we could have just seen the second time Jillian was, like, in the police station, which she wanted to look at the handcuffs, and then she accidentally handcuffed herself, like, to a desk or something like that. And I was like, that is great. And also, I really wished we could have had, like, a clip of her a couple seconds earlier, so Polehouse could have been like, I need to talk to you about this. And she's like, I won't talk to you until my lawyer comes. He's like, what lawyer? And she's like, my 12-year-old lawyer. And he's like, oh my gosh. Just, I need a buddy cop movie. But it's Polehouse and it's Jillian.
Polehouse had drank like 18 cups of coffee by that point in the day, and it was not enough. So speaking of Odyssey being able to support multiple funeral homes competing, which it would not be, and we will have mentioned this previously in the Glass Darkly review. Apparently Odyssey does have a zoo now, trouncing what I literally just said in the last review in Glass Darkly. How have we never heard about it apart from these 2 episodes? Also, the coincidence that these 2 consecutive reviews we did, Glass Darkly and this one, are the only 2 episodes where it's mentioned Odyssey has a zoo.
You said, like, we need an episode that ties into the other episodes, and I was like, a Glass Darkly,
that's not
and you're like,
reviewing with it. Like, is the zoo just that
can be clever.
Small? I think they said it has penguins, but it doesn't have lemurs apparently. How could you support a zoo in such a small town? Vancouver doesn't even have a zoo.
I thought you were going to say, how could you support a zoo that does not have lemurs?
How dare they?
Like, monetary-wise.
Shameful, yeah. No, like even Vancouver doesn't have a zoo. And is the
We have an
Connellsville...
aquarium, though.
Yeah, but they don't have a zoo, is what I'm
That's
saying.
like a water zoo.
I know. Is the Connellsville Zoo still open, or did they just move to Odyssey? That would seem like the most likely option. And we haven't heard about
a traveling zoo.
I don't think we've heard about the Connellsville Zoo
Devin,
since...
it's a traveling zoo. It travels between Odyssey and Connellsville every
Back
2
and
years
forth.
to keep things exciting.
It makes sense. I can't
It's
argue
like the
with
Green
that.
Ring Conspiracy, except for like it's called the Purple Ring Conspiracy, and they just steal dimes that they find on the ground.
No, Victoria, it's the
so
blue...
it's not technically stealing, and they're really bad at their jobs.
It's the Blue Ring Conspiracy because they have octopi at the zoo.
Where they just open the cages and set them loose on people and hope that the octopus steal wallets, but it never works out.
Yeah. The pickpockets. They're all wily,
They're like
Finding
you have
Dory.
8 tentacles. Why can't you just take one wallet? You have so many opportunities.
They can pick 8 pockets at once, Victoria.
I know, that's why. That's why
they're
but
so
they
good.
always fail.
They have like the one hand to like 2 arms to massage your shoulder, and like the one on your side, and then the one arm going into your pocket, and then 2 more tying your shoelaces together.
Oh, so sneaky.
Yeah. So yeah, I really like this funeral director guy. So I was like, I guess I can see why they couldn't go with Mr. Wexford for this, because the personality we saw from like the 2 scenes in A Touch of Healing probably wouldn't have matched up with the character that they needed him to be for this episode.
I can't remember what Mr. Wexford was. It like was he kind of like really somber?
Yeah, well, he wasn't super somber, but he was just kind of like funeral director somber, and he wouldn't have really matched up with this character profile they needed. So I get it. It did seem weird to me because I was like, if they could keep the same name correctly across the vast gap of albums 24 to 57 and then change it 8 albums later, I was like, that's weird. So yeah, I think what I said does make sense about like he took over, he was the assistant, and then he took over, and now it's his place. And the name changed obviously because it was named after Mr. Wexford, so now it'll be named after this guy.
Man, Jason needs to take notes.
Yeah.
Took a really long time for that joke to land with
well,
you,
I was looking at my notes, and then it kind of like came into my mind. So Emily's looking through all these old laws in the book. She doesn't talk about any of the ones that Eugene looked at in A License to Drive. But we do have affirmation once more that Penny and Wooten are both left-handed. Which I guess...
I thought you would have liked that.
I did. We already knew it, but I
that
still
means
liked
they
it.
can't be the president.
To be brought up again. The mayor, you mean?
Yeah, that too.
The president of Odyssey.
You can't be mayor of Odyssey, Devin.
I know. I can't work in microbiology, and I can't be mayor of Odyssey.
That confirms that Philip Glossman, Tom Riley, Dr.
Not
Blackard...
Glossman, Bill Jenkins, you mean?
Bill Jenkins. Dr. Blackard was in the running.
He wasn't mayor, though.
I'm including people who were in the running, because I doubt they would even bother going in the running.
They wouldn't.
Do you think any... Oh, Devin! Do you think there's any controversies in Odyssey that are kind of like, the controversy
like the
with...
birth certificate thing with Obama, except it's about what hand people write with?
Wait. What's that guy's name? The one that Renee did the Imagination Station program on.
Spiro McGurk.
Okay, yeah, you know how there was like some controversy about him in Odyssey and stuff because of things? So like the same level of controversy.
Yeah.
But it's like, I need a Watergate pun, but I can't come up with one yet because I'm not clever enough. I need more time. You do that. That's your job. But it's a mayor, and they pretend that they're right-handed, but they're actually not.
They're ambidextrous, and it's scandalous. It really makes a series of unfortunate events season 2 look like legit bigotry. The closest thing I can get is the fact that another word for a Watergate is a levy, which sounds like levo being like the Latin root for left. So that's what I've got so far.
Yeah, but people won't, if they hear levo, they'll be like, oh yeah, Watergate.
Oh wait, sorry, it's Greek. Sinistra would be. That's why they can't be it. They were like, oh, it's too sinister. Left-handed people, burn them at the stake. So yeah, probably
No,
confirmed.
but there's that great thing I learned about in Sawbones, because they did an episode on left-handed people, and they said that like you shake hands with your right hand
Yeah, because your left hand's
because you
dirty.
would put your sword in your left hand, and so then and no one would be able to fight with it because they weren't like left-handed. So you would be
I was like, you don't put your
safe.
sword in your left hand. I see what you mean.
Yeah. And then Justin was like, oh man, if someone was left-handed, they would have their sword in their optimal hand and they'd just be able to take everyone's hand. They like be able to take everyone out and also shake their hands at the same time.
It's the same reason why all spiral staircases from the Middle Age go clockwise or counterclockwise as they ascend, because it's optimized for defending your castle, because you need to hold on to the banister, which is on the outwards of the staircase. And so if the castle belongs to you, you'll have the high ground, Anakin, which means you can hold the banister with your left hand and your sword with your right hand. But if you're the invading force, your banister will be on your right side, and so you won't be able to hold your sword with your dominant hand and hold on to the railing on the same time on the staircase. And so all of the spiral staircases for hundreds of years were built spiraling in the same direction because of that very specific reason.
I'm really happy we are very in sync, because I was watching something the other day. It might have been Westworld, but someone was just like, and then we have and then we'll have the high ground, and I just murmured like Anakin really quickly before the next person could get any words out.
So yeah, this law about like no lefties for mayor, I imagine that it doesn't really apply anymore because no one knows about it, so it's not really enforced. But we could imagine, in theory, it could mean that Bill Jenkins, Tom Margaret, Spencer Hicks, and most of the McAllisters were righties.
Can you imagine, though, like Blackguard finally does become mayor, and he's just like, yes, and they're like about to give him the key, and he's like, finally, and it goes into slow motion, then someone comes out and they're like, wait, he's left-handed,
Yeah,
and then
like,
they're like, oh, get out, and they throw him in jail, like, and that's why he gets thrown in jail. And he's like, you've got to be.
It's like getting Al Capone on tax evasion.
Yes.
What happens?
Oh my gosh, it is.
Like Blackguard wins the election, and Jason's like, we need to figure out how to stop him. And Jason is just digging through like the law archives trying to figure it out. And then he finally figures out. He's like, yeah, you win. All right, Blackguard, just sign the certificate accepting mayorship. And then he picks it up, and then as he signs it, with his hand out with the feather quill pen, and then Jason slaps the handcuffs on him and arrests him for being a lefty.
He like puts a knife through his hand, like sticking his left hand to the banister, pulpit, whatever it would be.
The podium,
called.
Yeah,
the podium. And then he's just like, oh my gosh, what the heck? And he's like, see, everyone, he's left-handed, I told you.
And then Jason goes to jail for stabbing a man in the hand in public.
No, but they're like, oh, he's a lefty.
Oh yeah, Good so job, it's state sanctioned violence.
Yeah,
it's all cool.
Exactly. That would have been so funny. Oh my gosh, someone needs to make this into a comic. I wish there were like people who made funny Odyssey comics in the fandom.
Hey, there's that person, what was her name, Candy Rabbit or whatever on Tumblr, who would make those like miraculous Barkley family crossover comics. She made multiples of those.
Mari and Adrian and Hugo and Emma and Louie.
As Mary and George. Those are great. I don't think she's posted on Tumblr in like a year and a half at least.
They were so funny.
So yeah, Emily's looking through. She's like, yeah, there's all these silly laws. I figured that the silly laws were gonna all be real laws from different places, although I wasn't personally familiar with any of the examples that she gave, and I feel like I know quite a fair number of like the famous weird laws. So I don't know, maybe they did just make them up for this. So they find the Burkholder law, and she was like, Burkholder? And I was like, aha, I remember, I figured it out. Burkholder was the name of the law that prohibits the private booths, so the law was created to prevent a boysenberry pie monopoly, and I was right. So yeah, that's what it was, and back to the other story.
I'm trying to see if the left-handed thing, no being mayor, is a thing.
Oh, in a real place?
Yeah. No, Yeah, the only thing I could find that had to do with like all those keywords
Mm-hmm.
is like a former mayor of New York City being like, I knew a left-handed Eagle Scout once.
Okay.
Because that's such a weird thing to come across.
I mean, it's a weird thing to say. Zoe calls out Jay for being creepy, like directly, and I was like,
I mean,
yeah,
she did in the other episode too.
yeah. I was like, I don't know. These are so close together. Maybe this is leading somewhere. It's in album stuff. That would be great if it was actually leading to like Jay learning a lesson about not being like stalkerish and obsessive and actually understanding, rejection.
I thought they actually did have like one civil conversation. Like, I think it was after he said that he didn't actually get his actual results back because he never submitted his test. And then they just like talked about a couple things, and I was like, this is actually like a good conversation. They're talking like normal human beings. And then the guy came back, and I was just like, why did you have to come back? Not that I don't like you, it's just they were finally getting somewhere. And then the next time we saw like both of them interacting, Jay was like, I love you, and she was like, get me a restraining order. And then everyone laughed, and I was like,
So
I don't know how I feel about Jay now because of all this stuff with Zoe. I really like Zoe. I just want to say that I really, really like her.
Look how far we've come.
I know. I think Zoe might actually be like out of the new cast of kids, excluding Jules. Jules does not count.
And Buck?
And no, I'm only talking about the girls.
Oh.
I think Zoe's my favorite out of all the new girls, excluding Jules, who are kids characters. What about you?
Excluding Jules.
Because I like her more than Emily, and I also like her more than Olivia.
It would either be Olivia or Zoe. Better than Camilla or Emily.
No mention of the 512 different programs in the school Zoe's in charge of in this episode.
Yeah. I don't know why. She must have been upset that she didn't get, like, writer or anything in the fine arts, the fine liberal arts.
Yeah, I thought she would have been like, they would have been like, oh, you're going to be with Dale Jacobs.
Yeah.
And then I thought, like, they're going to be like, also, did you know that some people think Odyssey or Wits End used to be, or like is a hotel or something like that? We've been getting these weird letters. And then she's like going in the archives, and then there's this mystery that has to do with like this house that looks like Wits End.
Mm-hmm. So, speaking of the history of Wits End, very aptly, back to the Emily and Jillian thing, we find out the name of Mayor Flinkman, who was the mayor of Odyssey in 1929. I assume he was also right-handed. And I was like, that is good new info. He likely wouldn't have been the mayor who lived in Wits End because that was post-World War II. But that was still good and important information. And you tied it in a very weirdly and surprisingly relevant way, Victoria.
Thank you. I guess he would have lived in the no, not the McAllister house.
Could have lived anywhere.
The mayor house. No, wasn't that one house that looked like Wits End meant for the mayor's house?
No, that was Thaddeus Tate. He was a railroad magnate.
The Tate House.
Yes.
That's what it was called. I forgot.
Yes. Thaddeus Tate.
Yeah, Kenneth Tate.
No.
Not Tate. No. Why do I just want to call everyone McAllister? There's so many McAllister things. What was Kenneth's last name?
The reason, Victoria, is you're saying Kenneth McAllister because you're thinking of Kevin McAllister from Home Alone.
Oh, you're right.
Yes.
What was Kenneth's last name?
It was, I wanted to say Alan, but I don't think that's right. That's not right.
No, that doesn't sound right at all. Do you want me to look it up?
That's okay. We can just let it die.
No.
So, I'm really now that we've confirmed that Jillian was not a one-off character, which I was hoping she wouldn't be, especially since she was living with Jules and Connie. So I was like, she shouldn't be. But also, conversely, Renee works at Wits End, and yet she hasn't appeared in an album yet. So, whatever.
Wakefield.
Yes, thank you. I am really looking forward to this weird relationship between Jillian and Jason.
No, I'm looking forward to more Jillian and Pullhouse interactions.
That
I
too.
don't care about Jason because I'll care once I find out how old Jillian is. Because I mean, she's lived in 14 different cities and she lives by herself.
I would assume late 20s, very late 20s or early 30s.
Okay, then this is good. This is okay.
Well, obviously she's not like 20.
No, I imagine her being like 20 or 19 or something like that. So this is much better.
She's definitely not that young.
Yep. Okay, then this is fine.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to this. Specifically, I'm looking forward to like when they're fighting with each other over property dispute stuff, and then Connie has to be the friend stuck in the awkward go-between of like, tell her I said this, well tell him I say this, and all that.
I thought like when it came to, and I've already said this, to Jillian interacting with people, it would be like she's always with Jules, except for she's like always with Connie and like never with Jules.
She's like barely
and I
talked
don't know
to
why,
Jules.
but I'm like, I actually like it more this way because they were the ones that had conflict, and Jules liked her right off the bat. So, yeah.
There was barely any Jules in this album.
Yeah.
She only had a couple lines even in the premiere, if I recall correctly.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's about all I have to say about this episode.
I like this episode a lot.
Oh, that was pretty alright.
I'm gonna give it 4.5, I think.
Yeah.
I don't really have that much negative to say about it. I didn't like the bit with Jay at the end, but that's kind of my biggest complaint.
Yes.
I don't know why, but this stuff with like Jillian and Jason just felt kind of unnatural to me. I don't know. He kind of seemed like he felt uncomfortable, like just being around her. Then at the end, he was just like, "Oh, well, you think I'm cute," and I'm like, "Sure, you said that."
It was hard to gauge whether he was being bashful or uncomfortable.
I think a little bit of both. Just like the episode ends with two relationships that aren't relationships where one person's very uncomfortable. And I'm like, if you're uncomfortable, I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, one of them decidedly more so. That's the biggest, maybe the only detractor from this episode for me, is how I'm becoming very uncomfortable with like the Zoe J thing going on as of this album now.
They're just like...
Because it's gone from playful crush to stalker obsession, and soon we're going to wind up in Mystery of the Clock Tower territory, and Eugene doesn't need to go to any more banks, thank you very much. We already know who did it.
Today's just like a day for me being like, no thank you to like creepy, uncomfortable relationship things. There's this blog that I unfollowed on Tumblr today that was like a self-care blog, and I was just like, there's some pretty good stuff on here. Like, whenever I see posts from it, it reminds me to do like certain things and like healthy things for the body and stuff like that. And I was like, that's good. And then every now and then I see like posts that are just called like 15 ways to manipulate everyone around you and make them eat out of the palm of your hand and stuff. And I'm like, and I just like ignore those. Except for I like see them so often now because they just like keep on doing more and more of them. I'm like, how about you go back to like skincare tips and like reminding people to be friendly to other people, or like how to look confident at job interviews or something like that. And I saw one today where it's just like how to pick on guys who aren't the alpha in packs, so that you can disturb like their entire hierarchy, and then everyone will get a guy because you just pick from the lower ranks.
Oh, I have seen that post. I actually do like that.
Yeah, and then like the first, but like it had steps, and the first step said like select your victim, and I was like, if you're calling people you're gonna flirt with victims, I don't want to be around you. And then I unfollowed them. It was just, and I was like, you shouldn't call people victims if you want to flirt with them. It was so uncomfortable. And then I listened to this. And I was just like,
Yeah, I'm going to give this episode 4.3 because I was really, by the end of it, like you said, throughout the episode, I was like, after the premiere and then this is getting kind of weird. And then the end where she's like, restraining order, and everyone's like, ha, ha, ha. And I was like, Okay, I'm now deeply concerned. We've upgraded.
Yeah.
So that's
There's like a difference between this and like Mari Shat kind of teasing.
So that was a big detractor. Everything else in the episode I really did like. I liked the whole like, obviously it was going to be like a subversion of expectations, especially since the title of the episode is not what I expected. It was pretty there on the tin. But I cracked up at the jokes from the funeral director guy.
I loved I'm kind of lukewarm on the whole like thing with Jillian. I loved her interactions with House and stuff.
I really liked Jillian. I was just happy enough that she was in this episode.
So good.
I was so happy Jillian was just in this episode, in an episode again. You know, I liked that her storyline is moving forward, that we got her and House and Jason all in an episode that I thought was going to be about like Emily and Zoe and Jay. That we got all that stuff. We got some new like Odyssey lore and stuff, and Emily kind of working towards her goal and building or not building upon her past stuff, like you said.
And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah. So now we should hurry along because we have to talk about another episode and then review the album.
Yep.
So now we're going to talk about the finale. Time to cry, everybody. It's time to talk about Divided We Fall.
And we're back after a couple of weeks. It's been a couple of weeks. Look at Victoria's here. My hair's short. Also, it's been so long.
My hair's short too.
So now, episode 855, Divided We Fall, written by Kathy Buchanan. What happens in this season finale, Victoria?
In this episode, it's one of those episodes where you're like, oh no. Kathy wrote this and we're going to suffer. Which means this episode, I think, either did or almost made me tear up at one point. There's like this thing where if characters I really like cry, I'll probably cry too. It happens a lot.
It's called empathy.
It happens a lot in DuckTales. A lot in DuckTales. So in this episode, Katrina and Eugene are being visited by a social worker to just like check up on Buck and make sure everything is good.
Mm-hmm.
But their usual one isn't there.
Uh-huh.
Instead, there's one that's like a lot more strict about like very specific things that don't like would probably never be a problem with him.
Yeah.
But they have to like make sure they're good. And just as they're doing this, and like Eugene's like, oh, let's also make a treehouse for Buck, and it's like really cute. And you're thinking of Wooten and Grady when they were like working on the treehouse and stuff. Well, when the social worker's down there, Buck falls out of the treehouse, and the social worker finds a lot of things that like are also just weren't the way they should be in the house, that were just really tiny things. And all this together, mainly Buck breaking his leg from the fall and landing up in the hospital, mean that Buck is going to be taken away from Eugene and Katrina unless they win a court case appeal thing. So, yeah, emotional. Buck isn't supposed to be there. He's not supposed to know about the appeal. But, like, the good boy is, he bursts in like it's one of those wedding scenes in rom-coms where he's like, stop the wedding! It's like, stop the court case! And then he, like, says all his feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, man, we'll think about it. And then the season ends. I mean, it's implied that, like, everything worked out. But still, it's kind of funny if you think about it. They're like, you can sit here. We'll talk later.
Tired today. I didn't get a lot of sleep this weekend.
I didn't either. I slept this afternoon.
I didn't. I was very tired at work today.
I cried when Katrina cried.
When Katrina started crying, I was very emotional. Okay, so
I wanted the end of this episode to be different. That's my only problem with this episode. I wanted it to have a different ending. I wanted
You had more drawn out angst.
I wanted it to be more angsty. What I wanted to happen was
You wanted an Infinity War of a finale.
Yeah, I wanted Buck to disappear.
Mr. Eugene, I don't feel so good.
I wanted them to say Eugene and Katrina did not have custody of Buck anymore. And then they said, we decided to put him under the care of someone else. And then
Wooten.
And then you hear, like, a door open and someone walks in. And you hear Katrina and Eugene gasp. And then you hear Mr. Skint's
Regis
voice.
Blackard.
No, I knew you were going to say that. And then it's Mr. Skint's voice who is donned a new identity.
Oh, okay. He's Count Olaf.
He's
You'll
Count
come back to
Olaf
the Count
again.
Olaf thing. Yes.
Yeah, he's Count Olafing it. And
hello there.
And then they're like,
I am Mr. Fint.
Yeah, and then they're like, Jessica haircut over here has custody of Buck now, and the album ends, and it's a cliffhanger. That's what I wanted. But then it has a happy ending, and I was like, darn it!
That's such a funny idea, like, because we've already made, like, we're 90% of the way to, like, Mr. Skint being Count Olaf in our heads.
I'm wondering
and if
like,
he actually
he's
started resorting
only
to, like, weird voices and disguises to try and get custody of Buck.
I wonder if, like, to get his fortune.
Yes, yeah, of
the
course,
money
yes,
boy.
obviously.
Yeah. I'm wondering if he's only gonna appear after Buck is a Christian. So it's gonna be like
or
a
at
little
the
while
11th
later.
hour kind of thing.
So like, yeah, either
His
one
final
of those,
temptation.
or like Buck becomes a Christian in the same story arc, kind of like with Grady when his dad came back.
What if Mr.
No,
Skint...
I don't know what you're gonna say about one. I know what it is.
What if he comes...
and he's Grady?
Yeah.
This whole time.
And...
Okay,
he was
like,
Davy Holcomb the whole time. He's Digger Digwell.
This is like the new Star Wars movies. Whenever a new character
people trying to figure out who Snoke
and people
is.
are like, who else is this character? Like, who is he before? And that's like us every single episode.
Who is Supreme Leader
now
Skint?
50 characters are like all the same person, including Jay Witt, Jack, and Joanne, and I think Eugene might have been in there too.
What if?
Just
well, everyone was in there, Victoria.
Yeah, I know everyone
What
was in
if
there.
Mr. Skint shows up and he's like, "Buck, my boy, if you come back with me,
he's not your boy.
I'll tell you about your mama."
See, I think something like that is gonna happen, because it's implied that like the only person who actually knows anything like really substantial about her is Mr. Skint from that one episode, like the other album.
Buck's gonna have to sign over his voice to know that the forbidden knowledge
is gonna turn into a boy that looks like Buck, but isn't Buck, but still has the same adorable baby boy appeal. And then he's gonna get adopted by Eugene and Katrina, and he's gonna sound like Buck. His name's gonna be Vanessa.
So, this episode, obviously, we knew about for a while that it was gonna be dramatic, something involving like Eugene and Katrina and Buck. It was originally on the AIOC, which is wild. It's Buck Wild and then Buck Wild. And then they moved it to the album.
Buck Wild is the name of his brother.
That's Mr. Skint's.
Oh, that's his alien.
Yeah. When he's a young boy.
My name is Buck Wild, but you can call me Vanessa.
Yeah. And so it was like, ugh, what's it gonna be? We're super nervous. This is gonna be super bad. Episode starts, and then we heard the description. It's like questioning the role that they have. Are they gonna lose Buck? The episode starts off, and Katrina's like, Buck, get out of the house. It's on fire. And I was like, ah! Katrina, don't scare me like that.
I forgot about that. Oh my gosh. And then he was like, just wait a minute. I have to like grab my DS. And I was like, wait a minute. Something's up here. I was thinking maybe just like a really small fire, like a grease fire.
I was like, they burned the popcorn, and now the house is going to burn down. It's going to be like Wooten all over again. They're going to have to burn a new house. I actually
burn a new house?
Yeah. I got really scared that they were going to lose their house. Bright side, the dog still exists and it's here.
I know. I forgot about the dog, honestly. Did you?
No.
I did. I was like, oh, I forgot that my puppy had a puppy. I was so happy.
Yeah,
It's
that
very
was like
good.
a very like terrifying fake out at the beginning of the episode. So yeah, new social worker. She's super by the book, very extreme. They need to have the house up to code, not just for like Buck's age bracket, but for all ages. And at the beginning, I was like, I agree with Eugene. Like, they don't need to lock away the batteries and Windex from Buck. They're not
This
playing.
house has to be appropriate for all ages.
Yeah, I was like, they're not playing Who's
like
Your Daddy.
a game
Yeah.
or a children's movie, but not Frozen because that's probably
Like
PG-13.
a game with a baby that tries to eat batteries and drink bleach and drown herself in the pool.
Who's your daddy?
Yeah, which is not what Buck is in danger of having happen to him.
I want Buck and Eugene to play Who's Your Daddy. But Eugene
Except-
is the baby every time.
No, here's the thing. Eugene plays as the dad, but he looks around and he's like, this seems safe.
And
He's
he
like,
just
doesn't feel the need to do anything
And then
about
he
it.
just goes out to hang out at the ice cream shop
Yeah.
until the wife comes back home and
Uh-huh.
looks after the baby.
And Buck is long, long dead.
Yeah. He drowns in the bathtub.
Yeah, while dying from like all the batteries in the stomach and putting the fork in the socket and
Bleach.
so. Yeah, the beginning, it's like, yeah, Eugene's right. They're being so restrictive, like, unreasonably, because let's use some common sense. Buck isn't going to down a bottle of drain cleaner. It's like, yeah, Eugene knows what's safe and good for Buck. He wouldn't recklessly endanger him, I once thought, oh so foolishly. And then as soon as, like,
Oh, Divided We Fall. Sorry, I looked ahead at your notes. He falls.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on that.
Uh-huh. I know.
Clever Kathy.
Uh-huh.
You got
That's what
me.
That's what they call her.
You got me.
As soon as, speaking of falling, yeah, as soon as Eugene's like, or a tree house, and Buck's like, a tree house from the next room, and I was
so
like,
happy. It was so beautiful.
give Buck and Eugene a tree house. Yes, I'm so excited. I'm
They have
gonna
a
cry.
puppy. Now they have a tree house, and Buck is getting the childhood
Buck
he
was like
deserves.
tearing up. He was so excited. And I was like, this is
He's
everything
like,
I
wanted
wanted.
a tree house, and I'm like, I've always wanted you to have a tree house as of this moment.
Yeah, but
Give
then
him one right now.
then the lady shows up, and she's like, you can't have these chemicals out. And Eugene's like, oh, don't worry, Buck just needs those for his rockets. And I'm like,
I know. He's bad at social.
and then he
interactions and
falls
social
out of the tree.
Hey, remember that one
And then-
time Connie broke her arm and then
Uh.
Eugene was trying to, like, self-diagnose while the doctor was right there?
That is possibly the best example of mansplaining in any piece of media ever created.
I mean, I think he would have done that even if there was a guy doctor.
But, like, he assumed that she was the nurse, though.
Oh, right. I mean,
Um,
I've done that too with things, which I feel bad about.
But just the fact he's like, don't worry, I got this. I've taken one medical course at night at Campbell College, and she's like,
I have
I'm about
a
to chew you
certificate
out.
that I printed out off my computer.
she's
on the
like,
wall.
and she was like, I'm about to chew you out like my precious son Tino Tonatini, because I'm the mom from the Weekenders, and that's all I can hear
Oh
when she's
my
talking.
gosh. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Ah, the blue vegetable. What was the blue vegetable?
She's such
seriously,
a big character. That was a great show.
Out of all the questions that I possibly could have from my childhood, out of either being from media I consumed or from real life, the only one I have that matters, that I've thought about every waking hour of my life since I first saw that episode, is what was the blue vegetable. I've probably no joke, almost every single time in my life, I'm in a vegetable section of a grocery store. I'm like taking a quick picker, like quick. I'm taking a quick
picker.
Yeah, a quick peek around to see if there's any blue vegetables. I've asked you a lot of times if there are any blue vegetables.
I
think
believe so.
I have. I remember doing it when I was a kid. I've Googled are there blue vegetables?
Well, it sounds like you've laid the mystery to rest then, probably, Victoria.
I need to know what it was.
Well, we'll interview her next, and we'll be like, what
Why
was
would
it?
she know? She didn't write the episode.
It was in the script in the instructions on the script.
Oh,
Yeah.
it said like
You
it's
hand him
redacted.
it's blacked out.
Wait, I'm gonna look up if there's any blue vegetables.
I'm sure it'll be
keep
the same
on
results as
talking.
last time you Googled it, Victoria.
Yeah, but that was probably when I was like 13. Back when I knew how to type ish.
So, yeah, Eugene is super bad at, like, interacting with people at all in any way according to how he should be. Like, you know what? Here's the thing. Buck is a very capable person. I, personally, Victoria, I'll admit, I'm not the most paranoid about safety person in the world, but even I wouldn't assume that any 16-year-old is proficient with a chainsaw if I didn't even ask them if they were. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, now I'm starting to call into question Eugene's ability to parent, which obviously increased as the episode went on. Like, not only, it would be bad enough if Eugene was like, hey, Buck, can you use a chainsaw? And he's like, sure can, Mr. Eugene. He's like, all right, I'll let you use it. I won't even be here when you're doing it. He didn't even ask if he knew it. He's like, I just assumed you knew how to use a chainsaw. Because he was proficient with a nail gun, okay? There's a bit of a difference, Victoria, between using a nail gun and using a chainsaw, as I'm sure you're aware.
I've solved the mystery.
Uh-huh.
So the dialogue is
Yes.
Tino says,
Well,
"Mom."
she doesn't say it's a blue vegetable. She could have just added something blue to it, right? As I recall. That's what I thought.
Tino says, Mom, could you describe this vegetable? She says, why, yes, I can. It's blue. He says, uh-huh. Is it supposed to be blue, or did you try to hide something awful by dyeing it my favorite color? He's wearing a blue shirt, by the way.
Yeah, I know. It's his favorite color.
Electronic beeping. There's like a little walkie-talkie in his backpack. He reaches for it. The mom says, tell them you're eating. And he says, tell them I'm considering eating. With that snappy 2000 and whatever comeback.
I love Tino's mom so much. She was such a good character.
very good.
Oh, it's a
She's
good show.
Very good. Lore was my favorite.
Laura's good. Tish was good. Carver's good. Tino's
Lore
good. They
had
were
a
all
lot of
good
brothers.
kids. They were all good kids.
Remember the pizza place?
Yeah, I had a list. I had a
was-
list. I would write down every single pizza place from every single episode as the episodes came
That
out.
doesn't surprise me.
You
I
shouldn't.
remember I was really jealous of the fact that they went to get pizza every single week, and I was like, they're 7. They're the same age as me. How can they afford this?
I don't think
can't
they were
afford
7.
this. They're like 11.
They were probably like
12.
12 or 13.
But how could they afford that? None of them had jobs. I can't do that. Is it because it was the only food Tino actually ate, and it was the only way he...
It's
his mom
probably,
could get
yeah,
him
it's
to
the
eat?
only way
so
he
she,
could
like,
subsisting
paid
himself.
for it. Wasn't she a nurse?
No,
Or like a doctor?
I don't think so. She was a doctor in Odyssey.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like I remember her
I
wearing
don't.
a face mask at one point. I could be wrong.
She may have, but I don't think that's what she did for a living
Okay.
in there. So, yes. Don't give kids chainsaws, even if they tell you that they can use it, if you're not going to... Okay, number one, if a kid tells you that they know how to use a chainsaw,
They're lying.
and you're watching them, don't give it to them. Number two, if they tell you they can use a chainsaw and you're not going to be watching them, don't give it to them. 3, if they didn't tell you anything about whether or not they can use a chainsaw and you're not going to be watching to them,
Watching
yeah.
them.
don't give it to them. Eugene. So things are really bad at this point. Like, really bad. And then Buck After Dentist shows up at the worst possible time. It was hilarious to listen to. But
it
in
was so cute.
It was adorable.
It was like Gavin.
It was adorable.
It was adorable.
But in the worst possible time.
What was that
So-
from? Was that from an odd one? Is that
I believe I had to think for
Wait.
half a second what it was from, and I
No,
can tell you.
it's from a Homestuck
Uh-huh.
by Octo.
Uh-huh.
What one was it?
Doc
wait,
Scratch
it was
puppet.
the hussy.
Yeah.
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 Oh, I hate that. I actually saw something from whatever space that
Paradox Space?
Paradox Space today on my dash,
Uh-huh.
and it made me laugh.
What was
and
it?
I was just like, no. It was 2 panels. One was Carcat, one was Dave, and Dave was like, Carcat, did you write fan fiction about your friends going through
Oh, yeah, the summer
puberty?
teen
And then
romance.
he was like, no, that'd be gross and weird. It's an AU. Which
It was
It was
the
really
best
funny.
comic
it was.
Paradox
it was
Space
my
ever made. It
favorite.
was the final one, and
It was my favorite.
it was like 51 pages long.
I saw that and I laughed really hard, and then I was like, darn it, that was really funny.
It was really good.
Anyway.
I have the hard copies of them if you
Yeah.
want to
No, I'm
revisit
good.
it.
I'm good.
So, yes. Buck is adorable. And here's the thing about it, is like, this is when Buck is like high on morphine or whatever they had him on, Oxy or whatnot.
He's adorable.
It's because Buck is such like a caged up person with his emotions. This is the first time that we've heard him talking, and we can trust 100% that he's speaking uninhibited about how he feels about the
So what
things
you're
he's talking about.
suggesting is when Buck is being cagey, we pull his teeth out.
Yes. With Clockwork Orange him.
Oh,
tell you the truth.
don't.
No.
No, Alex. Alex is bad. He's horrible. Clockwork Orange is such a hard movie to get through. No one watch it. Unless you want to look at the pretty visuals, which that movie doesn't always have pretty visuals.
Buck, the whole time he's just, he obviously he's spilling state secrets to this mean lady who's just doing her job. She's just doing her best, and I understand that. But he may be spilling state secrets like out the wazoo. But he's just like, aw, Eugene and Katrina are so nice, and I love it's so much fun, all the things Eugene builds with me. I love it so much. And it was
I
just
just want him to
it
call
was
mom and dad.
so good and appreciative, and he loves them so much.
Little country boy, my money boy.
And, like, honestly, hearing all of those stories that Buck said, all I could think about was failing to the finish line earlier this year when Eugene was so stringent about the Square One Club being careful with their go-karts and then he apparently after doing that he went immediately home to strap Buck to an experimental rocket sled through trafficked intersections.
I mean, Buck is older.
Yeah, so they're like, okay, you might
Like, you're 1 year older, so you're old enough to go take on the world.
well, like you said, but Eugene was like, I mean,
He's
I was
also,
only
like-
6 when I was mixing experimental, highly caustic
Okay, a couple
laundry
things.
detergents in the bathtub. So.
I'm not saying you're wrong at all, but a couple things that
Mhm.
separate Buck from, like, your typical Odyssey kid.
No, I'm aware.
Important list. 1, he grew up outside of Odyssey. 2, he's, like, more worldly wise and mature. 3, he's just super cool. 4, he's older than them. 5, he is the son of Eugene and Katrina, gosh dang, Meltzner. I think that's a pretty good list.
Okay, I already acknowledged that earlier when I was like, I know that Buck is very competent in many skills. However, I wouldn't assume
I
that
wouldn't
I wouldn't assume that an adult knows how to use a chainsaw without
would
asking
not either.
them.
I don't know anyone who knows how. No, wait, no, I do. Nathan knows how to use a chainsaw. He used to have a job chopping down trees.
I'm sure you know many people who know how to use a chainsaw.
Probably, but he's the first one that comes to mind because he told me extensively about
So-
cutting down trees.
Yeah, it looks like I had assumed, I'm like, yeah, they're going to be like, oh no, we're going to lose Buck, and then we're going to get Buck back. It wasn't until, like, after they initially talked, like, Buck is going away for now, you guys have to work at this and stuff. And then right before Katrina started crying, I was like, they could actually lose him here, and this could be, like, an ongoing thing, and that's when I started to panic. And then Katrina started to cry, and I'm like, now I'm going to lose it.
Did you cry?
No, but I was like,
Heartless.
It was getting, I was
you
like,
heartless boy.
Yikes. Yikes.
See, I didn't think it was actually going to be a problem until Katrina started crying.
Yeah, me too.
So.
And then, so they take the diaper
Yeah.
class, and they're really bad at it. And
No, I loved how they were equally bad at it. I thought first off, I thought Eugene and Katrina would actually be good at it.
mhm.
And then I heard Eugene start doing stuff, and I was like, oh, it's just with the doctor again. Oh no. And I was like, okay, Eugene's gonna be bad at it. Katrina will be fine. And then I hear this stuff about Katrina, and she's like, no, he's right. And I'm like, you two deserve each other. And I never thought I'd say this, but I'm really glad you can't have kids. Because this is bad, guys. It's a good thing you started with a teenager.
Don't worry, I'll cut that.
Thank you.
No, like, that is a good point, and we were just talking about how over time, we've kind of, like, lost that kind of dynamic between Eugene and Katrina, and I'm really glad they brought it back here. Like, Eugene's like, I can't do this because I'm, like, overthinking it and doing all ridiculous because I'm trying to engineer it too hard, and Katrina's like, Eugene, you're being silly. I am also not able to do this because I'm also over-engineering it too hard. We are both hopelessly hopeless at everything.
They were meant to be. Can you
The
imagine it? Okay. Some discourse.
mhm.
Controversial opinion time. If Brandon Teller was there and the one Katrina married, he would have been able to do it.
You're correct. But also, they probably wouldn't have their baby son Buck as their son.
That's true. And that's the true crime here. Isn't that a TV show?
Dun,
True
dun.
crime.
True Blood
True.
is a TV show.
There's a crime show, though.
There might be one called True Crime. I don't know. True Lies. That's another one.
Oh, I might be thinking of True Lies.
Um,
I don't know
so
what any shows are called. Hey, you know that movie?
what did that have to do with Eugene and Katrina? Somehow?
I can't remember what my point was.
So, although Eugene and Katrina have, equal lack of talents when it comes to the diaper changing, the key thing here, and this is important because it ties back to, like, the initial problems that they had with the social worker, is that Eugene is exceptionally on point with how bad he is at talking to people this episode. Because when the lady comes up, and Eugene just starts trying to, like, justify everything they did to her, and Katrina's like, I'm sorry, we'll do it right, we'll do it over, it's okay. And Eugene's like, no, this is ridiculous. She's like, Eugene, shut up.
I remembered what I thought of that movie. It has the word lie in the title. I'm gonna go lie down and take a nap now.
We also learned, though, in that bit that Katrina is a Rhodes Scholar, so that's cool. Also, I learned what a Rhodes Scholar is.
She studies roads.
Yes.
My favorite road is James Rhodes.
Good. That is how it's spelled, Rhodes Scholar. So.
Oh, it is?
Yes, like Rhode Island.
Oh.
Haha, your joke is backfired.
Darn it.
Yeah, and then Katrina also brings up the time that Eugene actually poured dishwashing soap in Buck's waffle. So I'm sure glad that didn't come up, especially given how much she harped on, like, allowing toxic chemicals near Buck at all, let alone putting them in his food.
Can we just talk about how, like, okay, you know how there are, like, certain movies or usually cartoons, like The Prince or The King and I did this a lot, apparently. I
18
never saw the
feet
cartoon.
is so high to put a treehouse, Victoria.
It is.
That's so dangerous.
I
mean, I used to climb the tree that, like, 50% higher than that.
Yeah,
and
but you never fell out.
I just sit in there and read books for hours. But yeah, I never fell out, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, you know cartoon sequences where, like, the bad guy is trying to, like, kidnap or kill the good guy, and it's just a lot of slapstick, and the good guy keeps on
and they
walking
keep on,
and never notices and
yeah.
stuff like that?
Oh,
It's
what
like,
comes to mind is
not on purpose.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
But that's Eugene towards Buck. Because he just keeps on accidentally trying to kill him without realizing it in this episode.
Except it's, like, God who's, like, instigating the slapstick to, like, Eugene drops the hammer, and then God, like, catches the hammer over Buck's
head.
head.
He's like, stop! Eugene, stop! And then at one point in this
episode... If it was a cartoon, it would be Sparky who is saving Buck's life. Constantly.
Yeah. And at one point in this episode, Eugene's like, I think I might be a bad dad. And I'm like, if I heard him say this at the beginning of the episode, I'd be like, sweetie, you're doing great.
Mm-hmm.
And then at this point, I was like,
oh,
what?
y'all think?
What? I was like,
ooh?
and then at the end of the episode, he's like, Buck, I'm a really bad dad. And Buck's like, that's okay, we'll move through this. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
They're so good for each other.
The three of them are just all on the same wavelength. And
honestly, it's Buck who should be supervising Eugene when he's using power tools in reality. But that's neither here nor there right now.
I think it's kind of like 50-50 at this point.
I'm just glad that Eugene was aware of the trope that he was coming off as. He's like, am I becoming the proverbial nutty professor that I'm becoming too engulfed in the science that I can't see?
He was becoming like a 90s movie.
Yeah.
But like, not the kind that's always late for everything. The kind just like generally a bad dad, which is like almost every single 90s movie.
Yes.
Dad.
Or dead, one of the two. Bad dad or dead dad.
He's not a dead dad.
No, I'm saying 90s movies.
Oh. Yeah, if you're not a bad dad, you're a dead dad. And then there's like the 2%
you either
of
die,
actually genuinely good dads.
You either die the dead dad or live long enough to see yourself become the bad dad. So they take Buck away for now and they won't tell him what's going on. Turns out he's only a couple blocks away. So he just hobbles his way over secretly to their house. And I was like, Buck, no, why did you come here? That's gonna look...
He hobbles on his crutches like
that's gonna look
Charles from Opposite World.
It's gonna look so bad on paper if they're like, oh, and then they kidnapped their foster child back. Like, and then he almost got killed by the treehouse again. But they go to court, and Eugene is, like, done with life. He's ready to throw himself into the river like Javert.
He's like, please take this boy away from me. I don't know what I'm doing. And then Buck, like I said, it's, like, very rom-com-y. The end of Shrek, or...
When you said interrupting a wedding, the only thing I could think of was Shrek.
This is the first time I've thought of Shrek, but it definitely does that. And then Sparky comes in and eats the judge.
The
judge and the social worker.
Uh-huh. And burps up the, like, powdered wig.
Yeah, and then... What else? Then they all sing a pop song.
Uh-huh.
And then they ride off in an onion back home.
Yeah.
To make a better episode.
So mean to this episode, Victoria.
Okay. The only reason I mean about this episode is it's not a bad episode.
You just wanted to wring more tears from the stone.
I just wanted Mr. Skint to show up and them not to get custody of Buck back yet. And I wanted the album to end without them having custody.
Trust me, I have faith that when Mr. Skint's return pays off,
it's gonna be so good.
It will be sweeter agony than we can imagine at this point in time.
I'm just like really impatient with the current story arcs, I guess, in Odyssey. Maybe it's because...
You want more big stuff happen.
Yeah, maybe it's because the story arcs have been moving, like, a lot more slowly, and usually, like, they span an entire album, like, at minimum.
Yeah. The pacing is
not
all thrown
like-
off now. Is the thing.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, part of my brain's like, maybe it's because I'm so used to like 12 episodes per album.
And
And
also because
now-
like
Like, I feel like the pacing could be so much better with Maury. And I don't think the pacing is bad with Buck. Because we usually get like 1 or 2 Buck episodes every 6 episodes.
Mhm.
Which isn't that bad.
Yeah.
And, but like, when we have to wait like 2 or 3 albums for like a Maury episode,
Mhm.
it like kills me because it's like basically every single time an episode drops, I get excited for more Maury content.
New album, you mean?
Yeah. Every time a new album drops and I get to listen to the Maury episode, I'm like, yeah, I want more Maury, please. And then I have to watch.
Maury.
I have to like listen as all these other story arcs like get either created and there's like even more that we have now, or more like building, starting to get like to their denouement, and I'm like getting really excited and stuff, or they're like building to their climax, like Bucks probably is really soon. And it's like they're all making like okay or good pacing, and then certain story arcs like like Maury, or I think there was another one too, I'm not sure what it was.
Jules?
Yeah, no, I think Jules is alright. I mean, there wasn't really anything with her this season, though. So, maybe she needs a little bit more time, too. But
If he has an arc at this point, I don't know.
honestly, I kind of feel like Jay's the other one I'm thinking of. But it's only because I want this stuff with him and Zoe to stop.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying there's a story arc, I'm just saying I want him and Zoe to stop completely. I want the next episode with Zoe to also have Jay in it, and vice versa, and I want it to be them putting a stop to this.
Yes. I want an episode. And because not only...
Like, every single time...
Because the thing is, that is such a crucially important lesson for young kids to understand. That,
no means no.
yes. It is so important.
I mean, it's also a good lesson for adults and teenagers.
That's
to
true.
understand, too.
But it's so important from an early age to not allow kids to fall into this idea of, oh, if this guy is like, is hanging around you and making all these comments at you and you don't like it, and you say something about it and he keeps on doing it, it's like, oh, it's like romantic or something, I guess,
I mean,
or I'll
not
just laugh
even
it
just
off.
like a guy, even like if a girl does that to a guy.
No, yeah.
Like literally, it doesn't even have to be romantic or anything like that.
That people need to understand
Like
that, like,
boundaries and stuff.
people on the receiving end of that need to know, like, hey, that isn't okay. You don't have to put up with that. You can go get an adult and tell them to put a stop to that. And more importantly, we need kids to understand that if they are on the giving end of that they need to cut it out because that is not okay. And I want an episode where Jay learns that, both for their story arc and their characters, and also because that is a very important lesson for kids to learn.
Mm-hmm. Going back to the Maury point, because I guess we can't
I still didn't get to say that my stuff at the end of the episode.
Oh.
We were talking about all this summary
Sorry,
stuff.
I just want to say this really quick. Every single time a Maury episode comes out, I get excited about more Maury stuff, and then the next album comes out, and I'm like, yay, when is there gonna be more? And then there isn't.
Mm.
And then I'm like, okay, maybe next time, and like my excitement's like already been brought down a whole lot. And then the only way to like kind of make it go up a little bit more, not back to the point where it was, but like a little bit more, is by going back and listening to old Maury episodes, which I can only listen to so many times before I feel numb. And then another album comes out, and it's like, oh, there's no Maury, and I'm like, maybe they just forgot he existed, and I start to get annoyed. And then another album comes out, and I have to wait like 4 episodes in, and it's a Maury episode only for like the only plot crucial thing happening to be in the last minute of the episode. And I'm like, great, I have to wait another 6 years for something else, for another 20 seconds of content. Thanks, guys.
Well, fortunately, waiting for Kingdom Hearts 3 as well prepared you for this.
Kingdom Hearts 3 has taken, and Gravity Falls, and lots of other Disney shows that take forever to update, have taken all of my patience that I can dole out.
Mm-hmm.
I have none left. I need something because these other things I like
just
are
need a
giving
win.
me nothing. So, like, I need something.
Well, KH3's coming out soon.
Yep. I just had to keep on telling myself,
That it's not going to be delayed.
no, that we're gonna get another trailer, or possibly more than one trailer, in like 20 days. I just have to keep on reminding myself that. Also, Union Cross is getting like an insanely big update in 3 days, and next month there's gonna be more story stuff.
This would have
with
been
the
a great
dandelions.
conversation to have, like, for the album review.
Well, this is the episode with the album review.
Yeah.
So, you know what? We'll just replay this entire thing.
We'll play it a
later.
second time. We won't cut and paste it. So back to this episode. The end, Buck bursts into the courtroom, and not only does he, like, defend, like, Eugene and Katrina and say how much he loves them.
I totally forgot what episode we were talking about.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware, Victoria.
Yeah.
But he turns the lesson around on Eugene. He teaches Eugene about his self-worth. I was like, this is the optimal ending.
Good.
This is the optimal ending for this scenario, Victoria. This is the first time that Buck has been able to be like, now I teach you a lesson about how God values you. And
I was like, my boy is growing so much. My brain was like, I actually kind of thought he was going to become a Christian in this episode. Like, almost.
And then we have Eugene and Buck stargazing in their treehouse. The great kings of the past were looking down on them.
Mm.
Buck's childhood dreams have come true, Victoria. It was so beautiful. It was an excellent finale.
You know those movies are like a boy in his blank, like dolphin or dog or dolphin.
Yep.
This is like a boy in his boy.
Treehouse.
No, it's a boy in his boy. It's very beautiful. And Katrina's there too, and she is happy after a little bit of sadness, but she's happy at the end. It's a very, like, emotional finale, which we expected. You know what the thing is? From the title and how long we've known what the title is, I think I was prepared for more angst with a title like that.
Well, clearly.
Yeah,
Clearly
I was,
you
like,
built up a lot more
waiting
angst in your
for
mind.
the worst to happen. I was waiting for, like, Buck to hate Eugene and Katrina. And I was so worried, like, something that would happen would cause, like, something would happen to them that would cause him to hate them for some reason. And it would be, like, a split that they decide. Like, either he decides he wants to split from them or something like that. Not that, like, a outside party would pull them apart from each other. But, like, now they're stronger than ever. If he calls them mom and dad, I'm gonna cry. I know I say this every single Buck episode, and I'm gonna keep on saying it until the day comes that he does call them that.
It was good.
You're,
thinking about my rating.
Hmm.
This was a very emotional episode. I really liked that we kind of acknowledge, you know, Eugene's faults as a parent. Because, you know, so far we've seen them being very like, oh yes, we're so diligent, due diligence and stuff. I really liked how we got not only the fact that Eugene was like, I've gone off my rocker, but that he is
my rocking chair.
It wasn't too unbelievably so. Like, it was more than what we've seen in the past, but it wasn't like too much of an exaggeration of an extrapolation beyond his previous behaviors. It was believable, and the fact that he was aware of it. Not at first, but he was like, wow, I can, looking back on it now, yes, I've been very wrong about how I've handled things. Didn't see it. I acknowledge it now, and I can see how all of this went to play, and I'm proud of him for that.
It's the best episode so far for showcasing Buck's development. Like, if you play his first episode in the Green Ring, back to back with this, you're like, this is a completely different person. And it's only been, like...
Well, I mean, it was first episode. You don't really know...
Okay, take him at his worst in the Green Ring, and then play it back to back with this.
Yes.
Actually, in his first episode, he only has, like, 2 lines.
Exactly,
so
that's what I'm saying.
He's just like, oh, it's a cell phone, and that's it.
And the whole, like you said, Eugene and Katrina, we get to see Eugene and Katrina, like, remember that it's not just like, one's the messy one and one's the neat one. Like, they are both disaster cases, some usually in different ways, but, you know, more than we get to see nowadays. They're very similar people. There's a reason that they ended up together.
3 of them. They're all the messy and neat
Well, I know,
one.
but I'm saying specifically in the context of the diaper thing.
And Connie and Jules, it's like, one's the messy one, and one's the messy one.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad that we get to see that side of Katrina again, because it's been a while. It's nice because like I said recently on the relationships episode.
You mean since album 19.
Yes. I feel like we've lost that initial dynamic that I really liked, you know, when they first got together. So it was nice to see a resurgence of that. You can always trust Kathy for that. It was emotional. And you know what I really like, Victoria? I like the fact that it wasn't just vilifying this social worker who's too by the books, and
I liked her.
Because I was going to be like, oh, she's just
gonna like her, but
malicious.
I actually really liked her.
But she, you know, I think it was realistic because she was like, you know what, you guys clearly care for Buck, and
she
do have a good
gonna,
influence
get
on him.
upset that they were not meeting all the safety regulations.
Yeah,
she was like,
she
I
was
was actually
like,
gonna pass you guys, even though you're like not meeting a lot of these, because I know you're doing a good job.
Well, also because
there's
of different
age
levels
also.
of infractions. It's
Yeah.
like everyone
they're
has
minor
failures,
enough.
but you write them up and you fix them.
And she's like, and these are like really easy fixes, and she like gives them a list of all the ways to fix it, and she's like, so you'll be good to go. And then Buck breaks his leg, and you hear him like screaming from outside. And she was like, oh no.
At no point was she like, you guys are terrible parents, or I'm gonna take you guys down and make sure you don't see Buck. She's like,
I thought she was gonna be like really villainized.
Exactly.
And
I really like the part that
great.
she's like, I have to do this because this is my job, and we have clearly defined rules that when this specific instance happens, I am required to call it in. I have to write up all of these things because I'm witness to them, and that's my job. You know, I'm sorry that that's the way that these things are turning out. Here are my tips that I can give you to try and build your case, and I hope the best for you guys.
And even like once Buck gets to the courtroom, she's like, hey, let's hear him out.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yes. She was very good.
It was very realistic, is what
I
it
really
was.
liked
And
her.
I was expecting, like this like shrewy, like shrew stereotype. She's like angry and like, you can't let him have computers or look at the TV.
Like the principal from Matilda.
Yes.
Who has like an Iron Maiden in the school and puts
the chokey.
The kids in it.
That is what I was
Like,
expecting,
oh my
and I
gosh.
was
Have you
pleasantly
seen
surprised.
Matilda?
Yes, of course I've seen
Okay.
Matilda. I said the chokey.
Okay. I saw it once when I was like really little, and it wasn't with you. It was just because it was on TV. And
I'm
I
sure
really
I've seen it
liked
with you before.
I thought I watched it by myself. It was on Disney Channel. Because apparently that's a Disney movie.
I don't
I don't think it
believe
is.
so. Yeah, it was a good episode.
Or maybe it wasn't Disney. I don't know.
I'll give it a 5. It's a good finale. It showed, like you said, it really showed Buck's growth, and he talked about like here's how I've grown. We got to hear his like uninhibited talking about like how he actually feels about Eugene and Katrina because he was high as a kite, which is nice. it's nice because of who he is as a character to get to hear something where you're like, you know that he's not putting on a mask or any sort of facade or inhibitions as he says this. This is what he really means, which is significant. And it was just really adorable to hear Buck talk about, like, I just wanted a treehouse so bad, and now I'll get one. I can just sit here. I was like, this is gonna be the one time that I don't say apples.
He doesn't sound like AJ.
I know.
In your accent, he sounds like, what's her face? Like the younger one. Like,
Apple Bloom.
Apple Bloom. Yeah. So I
want to be president.
I was going to say, that I thought I was gonna give it like 2 ratings. I was gonna give it like a biased rating.
You need to stop with this.
And an objective rating. But then you reminded me how much I love that one lady.
Mm-hmm.
And also that Sparky was in it.
Yeah.
And the fact that Buck was like doped out of his mind at one point, like on pain meds. I'm gonna give it a 4.5. I'm gonna combine the ratings. I was gonna give it like a 4 for the biased one and a 5 for the objective one.
Alright, time.
4.5 out of 5. Needs more angst.
Time to talk about the whole album as a whole, more than Victoria already kind of did.
Yeah.
Well, Victoria wasn't really granted about this album, but...
Think we can do this in 7 minutes,
albums
Devin?
overall. No. So is that right now? So, the end of album 65, Expect the Unexpected. Was there anything that was really terribly unexpected in this album?
I'm gonna need an episode list.
Well, yeah, I figured you would have brought one up. Let's use your phone. So, album 65.
Oh, wait, I can just go.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't expect Jillian.
Yeah.
I didn't expect Jillian. I didn't expect to like Jillian. I didn't expect.
Oh,
to
I
like
expected
that
to like Jillian. I didn't.
Worker.
I didn't expect that they were gonna like Jillian
I
enough
didn't
to
think
let her
she
stick
would
around.
stay.
Yeah, and I'm
I didn't
very
expect
excited about that.
anything about Jillian, including her existence.
And the episode in which we found out she would stay, because she appeared a second time, was not what I expected. I guess that's what the title was about.
So Shame About Fame. I didn't expect Jillian. Why do I say Julian?
I don't know.
I didn't expect Jillian. I like her. Sandwich Initiative.
Okay,
I
have other things to say.
No, I'm trying to figure out if there's anything unexpected. I predicted everything in that one. The toy. It was Ed Washington. He was the unexpected, and we didn't expect him.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I accept the title.
Okay. Shame About Fame. Jillian, we finally got Connie called out on being super judgmental of everything related to Jules or the Jules life. Connie's like, believe it or not, I used to be just like Jillian. Jules like, I'd have loved to see you with pink hair. Connie's like, well, no, not that. I'm like, Connie, you dyed your hair raspberry chestnut to try and emulate your boyfriend's ex. Where do you get off saying, no, not that? Like, I thought about that the first time, too. I just didn't write it down in my notes. Like, she acts so high and mighty about it. Like, I wasn't that shallow. It's like, not only, like, there's nothing wrong with dyeing your hair. And not only have you done that before, you did it for maybe the shallowest possible reason.
And then that followed up. She found out, like, no, I wasn't dating her. That was actually my friend who died really tragically. And she's like, oh, but did you like her, though? And it was just like, Connie, stop. Connie, no, poor Justine.
I'm still surprised that they're allowing Jay to talk about his acting career in broadcast episodes, given that his return to Odyssey was like entirely concerned with an AIOC storyline.
I know, right? I like it.
I guess that the broadcast justification for it is that he had like 2 lines about it in with Buddy and Sir Buddy's Snowy Day when he came back. So like, okay, we covered it in the show. We can talk about it now.
Yeah. I like that Jay's back.
Mm-hmm.
We already talked about everything with Zoe, so we don't need to talk about that again.
Yeah. With all the choking stuff, I when Olivia calls on 911 and she's like, "Hi, how are you?" It reminds me of one EMT stories that I read on Tumblr about like taking 911 calls and how people in shock can be like comically calm about what's happening. Like one guy called because he was in a giant puddle of blood, and he calmly explains to the dispatcher, and they're like, "Is it your blood?" He's like, yeah, I guess so." They're like, "Okay, we can deal with that." And there's like a number of similar stories of that ilk where people are like so in shock that they're just explaining things very calmly. And
That would be me.
Yeah.
But then it'd be increasingly frantic
Uh-huh.
over the course of the phone call to the point where I just start crying.
Yeah. We talked about it the first time, but they really did her dirty on the news, like so bad, Olivia. The coldest part of the entire episode is when the news anchor's like, "Your mom's a nurse? Huh." And that was it. And I was like, wow.
It's Fox News.
Yeah. And then we have Zoe at the end. I forgot both times that
Fox News, who called Kingdom Hearts Kingdom of Hearts on TV.
And that's the biggest problem with them. I completely forgot both times listening to this episode that Zoe wasn't actually planning on jumping into traffic. Possibly, allegedly, wasn't actually jumping in.
I mean, we don't have any proof.
It's true, because Olivia asks her, and she's like, "Maybe, you'll never know." But yeah,
like,
I was like...
I need to know, though.
Listening to it, like, you know, going through and back to the beginning now, I was like, I'm listening to Zoe talk about how she's going to jump in front of oncoming traffic just so reporters can see her, and all I could hear in my mind was Olivia saying, "Zoe, you should be the president. You're so much more level-headed than me. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe Zoe really is perfect for the head of the drama club."
It's very good.
Yeah, it was a
We're
good...
talking about how Olivia Zoe didn't generate enough drama.
I know.
Zoe's one of those people who, like, the smallest thing happens, she's like, "I'm gonna die."
She's like Bruno Mars. She will jump in front of that. She will throw her head on a blade for you. She'll jump in front of a train for you. Yeah. Yeah.
And then in the music video, he's just like dragging
a piano,
a grand piano across town.
I missed that lyric in the chorus.
It's never discussed at any point. It's so funny.
It was a good episode. I really love Jillian.
She's very good. I like that they followed up everything with Jillian and her jewelry stuff.
I like that they took, you know, the like Club Kid Chat Live thing that was going to be a very kind of like kidsy storyline, and they did something exciting with it. Like all the drama, like Jay almost died, and then but the girls both almost died and stuff. And the news, like they brought it up a level of dramatic, which made it more enjoyable.
Proof Jay wasn't the one who set those trailers.
Well, yeah, but there's lots of things you could say that I don't have proof that it wasn't.
I don't have proof it wasn't Regis Blackard.
Exactly, yeah. I don't have proof that Dr. Hawthorne wasn't the chairman of Andromeda all along.
Oh my gosh, but wouldn't that explain so much, though?
And you can't prove that it wasn't.
New headcanon.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, we need to stop recording this so we can make a different video.
Cut the presses.
Cut.
Yeah, it was a good episode.
The Sandwich Initiative.
Sandwich Initiative. You know, Victoria, the first time around, I said...
You wrote so little for this.
I wrote...
It's comedic.
That's okay. I wrote, like, nothing for the last 3 episodes.
Okay.
So, I said the first time around that David was the only good thing about this episode, but that was absolutely incorrect.
I told you
the
that.
The only thing
is it Ava?
Better than David is Ava standing behind him in every scene, going
Ava
like,
was good.
"David, you're my husband, and I love you, but you're insane, and I need to either stop you or kill you, and I'm not sure which one at this point." In every scene of the episode.
Good. She was, like, very rational, and it was very good. She was the best part of the episode. Plus, I did like that one kid. And I like how the kid's relationship with him developed throughout the course of the episode. I can't remember what he was called.
It's on my tongue again. Start with like either nature or W, I want to say.
Despite the fact like, his fear of being left home alone is valid, and it's nice that, like, they can all spend time with each other, even though it's only for an hour. And he's, like, 20. I over-exaggerated one number and under-exaggerated the other one. I'll let you guess which was which.
You didn't, but the hour was correct. Yes, it was 1 hour.
I felt like it'd be more than an hour.
You'd think so. You'd think so. No, an hour isn't even enough time to hang out with your friends.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
He, like, walks over there and the hour's over.
Yeah, and he's like, well,
back.
time to turn around and go back home. Bum, bum, ba-da-da-dum.
What's that song?
Sorcerer's Apprentice.
No, that one song that we both really like.
Blue from Iron Man 3.
Other than that one.
I don't know.
Another one that was, like, Griffin was singing it in that one Taz episode.
Oh, I don't know what it's called.
No, but what does it sound like? I can't remember.
This is good video. This is good podcast right here.
It's bothering me.
It's
Oh, like,
it was right on the tip of my
like,
ears.
Play that, and David just staring at the sandwich really intensely.
In the back, and yeah, in the background, the kids like walking back and forth,
And they're just
there,
like every now and then they just look over and they're like, "Should we say something?" And they keep on walking.
Yeah, it was like it had a couple moments, that episode. It inspired Victoria,
I don't think
though.
it made me laugh at all.
It inspired Victoria to turn her life around, though. So.
Oh, I forgot about that. It left no impact that wouldn't have been there otherwise.
Yes, well, that's why you're washing the dishes tonight.
I couldn't even remember what that was for. I was like, I remember saying a thing. It wasn't an episode. I can't remember what prompted it, though.
I'm so glad it lasted until you came back to put it into effect.
That much. I have been washing the dishes.
Yeah, but you just said that you didn't remember your whole vow.
No, I said I remember saying it, but I didn't remember what episode it was for.
Oh, I see. I thought it was the other way around.
No. I was like, mustn't have been that good an episode, because I remember what I said about it more than it actually existing.
We came to the toy, which was a great episode.
It was so good. Oh my goodness.
You know, Victoria,
best episode.
In our first review of this, I made a joke about Pullhouse's theoretical relationship with Jason, like knowing that he used to be the stiletto and being annoyed at the years he took off Pullhouse's life during the debacle. But I was thinking about it, and I realized, don't read ahead.
I didn't.
I realized that we have no reason to believe that Pullhouse knows that that was ever Jason.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, like, and he probably does know, and that's why he wasn't that sympathetic with Jason when it came to Jillian putting her jewelry there.
Jason leaves Odyssey at the end of the Green Room Conspiracy with only Wit, Monty, Connie, Penny, and Wooten knowing who he was. He returns at the end of album 56 with surprising little fanfare, given that he's not actually dead and people weren't supposed to know that. But unless he...
Joanne comments on it really calmly.
But unless he confessed to Pullhouse about what he did, he would probably not know to this day that that was Jason.
Do you think, like, Jason thinks he knows, though?
Probably.
So one day he's just going to passively mention it, and Pullhouse just, like, whips out the handgun and he's like, you're under arrest.
No, I think what happens is when Jason talks to Pullhouse, he makes little, like, ha-ha-ha, like, little winky-wink jokes at him, like, knowingly. And Pullhouse has no idea what it means.
It's so weird.
Pullhouse has no idea what's going on. And when Jason finds out that Pullhouse doesn't know he was the stiletto, he is completely blindsided by it.
And he's like, I have to arrest him right now. Right this moment. I have to go right now. This moment.
It's like episode 11 of Yuri on Ice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or just like the 1,000-mile stare.
Yeah, they're sitting at dinner. And Jason's like, yeah, like back when I was the stiletto.
And then he's like spits out his
spit take, and it pauses and it plays like Titanic or whatever it was.
No, it plays My Heart Will Go On, but with a really bad squeaky recorder.
Yeah, Titanic.
Yeah. But you didn't say the recorder.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. It's so good.
That would be great. That's a good episode right there. That's comedy quality idea right there. Take note of that one, guys.
I feel like he would know, though.
But would he? Like I said, he would have no reason to know unless Jason specifically went and told him about it. And do you think he would do that? I don't think so.
No, part of me is like maybe Whit would have clued him in when he had to tell like him everything else that happened.
Why did he?
On.
He didn't tell everyone else who was like close friends with Jason that Jason was in town. Yeah. Connie didn't find out until she was kidnapped in the train. Or Wooten or Penny.
Finds out anything until she's kidnapped. So let's be honest.
Yeah, the toy was so good. The fact that they brought back Ed Washington,
Toy was easily the best episode of this album.
It was great.
It was so good. Everything about it was perfect.
I was gonna say the B storyline was maybe like a little simple.
It's a little weak in comparison to like how good the actual toy storyline is. But
here's the thing, though. That's
fine.
That's the point,
I'm fine
though.
With that.
I think. Like, it's like, oh, there's kind of like, just like one scene, basically, that's stretched out. It's like, oh, she cleaned a bunch, and it's for Jesus. And that's it?
Wait, I thought this was the one where she's selling jewelry.
No.
Oh, no, I love the B storyline.
No, I know you did.
I
was saying it's really interesting because, like, narratively, it's basically, like, one story beat. Good. But I think maybe that's the point. Like, it's so simple and straightforward, and that's the point. And the whole point of the episode of both storylines is like it's that simple, and those are the things we miss out on. So I think there's kind of like a beautiful simpleness to how straightforward that storyline was.
I think this episode is perfect, honestly. I love it.
And the fact they brought back Ed was amazing.
Yes. And he had the same voice.
Yeah.
Nicholas cried.
Mark Christopher Lawrence, who is not Mark Evan Jackson. He is not married to Raymond Holt. So after the toy comes Maury. It's Maury.
Is that like your Rochi joke?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Except right. I didn't get the same. I had a lower slope to the inflection gradient.
It all sound like the name Rochi.
No, but that's where my mind went. It's mochi, everyone's favorite soft dough wrapped around ice cream.
I liked this episode a whole lot.
Yeah.
I liked
Once again,
Olivia's choices in it. I still find it hard to accept that no parents would even give a penny of money to their impoverished children.
Yes.
Also that none of the kids have, like,
a job. Because apparently they're in, like, grade 8, right?
Yeah.
They can get jobs. Oh, I think in America you can't.
Wait, why?
Because you can't, I think, until you're, like, 16 or something in America.
That doesn't sound at all right.
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong.
That doesn't sound right. I thought this episode was good. Is this the one with the jewelry?
No.
What was?
It was not what I expected. It was the funeral home one, because Emily was interning at the lawyer place.
Oh, right. And that's the next one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this was Maury. This was the one that, like, ooh, it just really got me with, like, that's all the notes I have.
Oh.
This is the one that really got me when it came to, like, ooh, Suzu is now more interesting to me than Maury is.
I mean, I can see why. I think, for me, it's Maury, and then Suzu, like, really close behind.
And it's reversed for that for me. Like, Maury is intensely fascinating, but Suzu is even more so because
she's like
she is
the epitome of gray morality.
Because she is 1 degree away from Maury, but she thinks that she isn't. And
Yeah.
that is just crying for an arc of development on her. I think she is going to be the
Fair.
crucial, like, piece of development.
Oh, she's
that
gonna betray
bridges-
him for sure.
Yeah, but there's going to be a lot of humming and hawing
Like,
and
I always thought
quandaries and dilemmas.
I always thought she was gonna betray him, and it'd be like pretty clear. But now it's like gonna be even better when she does.
Yeah, because she's in way deeper than we thought she was. Also, I realized on the re-listen, because remember, I was like,
I need
Maury
Maury
was
and
like,
Suzu in the next
we,
album,
I was like,
guys.
he was like, we made her, do you think we made a mistake, us making her president? And I was
Mhm.
like, oh, but then I realized,
You talked about that before.
yeah, I know, but then I realized on the re-listen that Olivia was like, yeah, we didn't really take a vote, everyone just decided I was going to be president. And I was like, oh, maybe that's what they
yeah.
meant, like they didn't rig an election or anything. It was
No,
just
I
a lot more
thought,
casual
like-
than that.
Because when they said that, I was thinking,
There was-
I thought it'd be everyone.
There was still more people in the drama club. There's 10
But
members, though.
Suzu's still the treasurer.
Yes. There's 10 members, which
Oh.
means they did not,
Oh, sorry, I thought it stopped recording.
they
for a
didn't
second.
alone make Olivia outwardly, which means that there maybe was still a degree of, like, of greased palms or some such at play. I hope there was.
I mean, I don't think there was, because none of these kids
Kids have any
clearly
money.
have any money. So
Hey, we all know Maury doesn't need money because he trades in blackmail and kidnapping.
poor choice of words. But poor choice of words.
I'm sorry, Atticus Schaefer.
Who is that?
The guy who plays Maury.
Oh, I'm not sorry.
He's a human being with a name, Victoria.
A name I did not know. Someone show this to him.
Well, if they were going to, this would not be the review they would show.
No,
They
it
would
would
go
be-
back
it'd be
like
the first
30
one.
episodes, yeah.
I
It was
need
good.
to-
The end,
Devin,
like,
I have that monologue that the Joker says memorized. I'm like a dog.
we don't have time.
Chasing a
We
car.
don't- what are you guys doing in here? We don't have time for
Wait,
this, Victoria.
I need a coin.
That doesn't make a
No,
move.
it doesn't work.
There we go.
It was so funny.
So good.
Wait, I have to start over. I'm like a dog.
And I
Keep-
chase cars. Oh, man. Okay.
Griffin dropping the coin is the funniest thing I've ever heard in my whole life.
So loud.
It was so loud.
And I'm sure it was loud in here, too. I don't care how bad it peaked on the table. I'm not turning it down. Yeah, it was great. I really liked it. Unlike when we had the case of the writer's ruse, and it was just like,
It was bad.
oh man, the end of it, and Maury. This one was like multiple
The
points
entire
of
thing,
Maury through it. Not the
basically.
entire thing, but
Almost.
multiple points throughout. It was dispersed.
Also, like, Olivia done good.
Yeah.
She done good.
Yeah.
She made the right choice.
Yeah.
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 I like this episode.
Not what I expected.
I think either. No, I think this past one, I already forgot the name. What
The
was
Good
it
and
called?
People.
Yeah, The Good and People is my second favorite.
Maury's monologue at the end, that was like the title line, was
It was
so
very
good.
good.
And Suzu was just being like, I guess for now.
She's like, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Thank you, Casey Green.
the Expect the Unexpected
Mm-hmm.
would have been my favorite if it weren't for the jewelry plotline.
You know what I expected.
What did I say?
Expect the Unexpected, which is
Oh.
the album title.
Yeah, Not What I Expected would have been my third favorite if it weren't for the jewelry plotline, because I just thought it was like kind of weak. Also, the Jason thing kind of creeped me out, but apparently
I thought it was funny.
Jillian's older than I thought she was.
Yeah,
so...
apparently you thought she was a teenager.
But like Jason's also very old, is
Yes.
what people always tell me,
Yeah,
and by people I mean you.
but like, didn't you think she was like 17 or something?
I thought she was like a couple years older than Jules. Yeah.
But, like, still, if Connie's too young for Jason, then Jillian's definitely too young for Jason. Also, we've already made it clear in the past that Jason has bad taste in women. They're always trying to kill him, or have the capacity to kill him, or they're just flat out not right for them. There's only one person Jason's ever, like, had romantic feelings for, who shipped with him. Please bring back Monica. Please. It's never gonna happen.
Obviously.
But I'd be so happy if it did.
It would be great.
Can you imagine, like, Monica and Duncan? Because I love both of them. I
At
love both
the
of
least,
them.
we should have got more of, like, a kismesis sort of thing with them.
Like,
This, like,
okay,
rival flirting.
Duncan deserves more screen time,
Mm-hmm.
and Monica deserves so much more screen time.
Yeah.
Especially, like, after Duncan. I mean, I know she gets, like, more scenes after Duncan. I'm so glad she has at least, like, one more conversation with Charles after Duncan, like, appears. I mean, it's just her being, like, slamming her hand down on the table and she's like, what's going on, Charles? And, like, that's it, basically. But I'm glad it's there.
And we found out she was actually, like, idealistic all along. And it was like, what?
What?
What? Thank you, Elise.
I like aim to emulate Elise with all of my comedy behaviors.
I haven't watched today's hardcore tabletop.
You know how
yet.
I go like that a lot?
Mm-hmm.
That's my impersonation of every single time I'm doing that. I'm thinking of Elise.
Every time I do anything, I'm thinking of Elise.
I think it's like James at one point says something like really misogynistic to her, and she's like,
It rings a bell.
That's like a lot of videos.
Yeah, it rings a chorus of bells.
Oh, and also the one time where he's just like, come sit next to me. And he like whistles, she's like, are you whistling at me like a dog? Screw that. And then she walks away. She's so funny. She's so good.
Ponytail gate.
Gamer mad insults wife, doesn't realize she's listening.
Back to the album. Zoe and Jay, we already talked about.
Can you link Elise's Keira Knightley impersonation?
You can look it up.
Okay. It's me, Keira.
Jack.
Did she say Keira in the movie? Well, no. Can you do Kermit?
Victoria, please.
Oh, that's not good at all.
Please.
My crops, they're dying.
I'm literally like the DM of this podcast, and you're every unruly PC rolled into one.
That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. Okay, so this episode was really good. Like I said in the past, I like how it handled the whole funeral thing, because I thought
The morgue guy was awesome. He was hilarious.
I thought they'd be like, you know what, they were like, with the social and not social insurance, the social worker lady and the funeral home and Jillian, I thought they would all like be very stereotypical.
I don't know why you thought
one
that.
note, flat.
I was like, obviously the funeral home director guy is going to be all funny and great because the episode's called Not What I Expected.
Shush. But it was not what I expected. Whoa! It was really good. Can we just agree that that's like the funniest instrumental ever?
Yeah, we did that like a week ago.
I know. I want the world to know.
And the final episode, Divided We Fall, was great.
We already talked about that one at length, though.
Well, yeah, but this is the album reviewed.
I know. I'm just saying, like, needs more angst.
It doesn't need more angst. It had a good amount of angst, good amount of feels, and a good amount of, like, feel-good feels, too. Mostly high buck and Buck being like, a treehouse? Which
And
was
also,
like...
Buck teaching Eugene and Katrina a lesson about God, which was like, boy, you've come so far. It was very good. Okay, let's rank them. You rank first. Do you want to look at the list?
Top to bottom. Top to bottom. Yeah, I might as well. So the whole thing. Divided We Fall, The Toy, The Good in People, Not What I Expected, The Shame About Fame, Sandwich Initiative.
I'm gonna go The Toy. The Good in People, because that would like really make me emotional.
Are you talking about The Toy?
No, The Good in People.
Why that would make you emotional?
That's the. Wait. Oh, I'm thinking of
The Toy. Yes, that's why I said it.
Darn it. Wait, which one's The Good in People again?
The one with Maury.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, The Toy, The Good in People. Not What I Expected, Divided We Fall, The Shame About Fame, and The Sandwich Initiative, like 3 tiers lower. I'm only putting The Good in People and Not What I Expected higher than Divided We Fall because for me it has more re-listening to traits. Because Divided We Fall is very emotional, and I came out of it a little bit emotionally drained.
Yeah, it's called catharsis.
Which isn't a bad thing.
It's not. Unless it is, of course, A Glass Darkly.
What a good episode, right? Am I right?
So, yeah.
What would you give the album?
Shoo-ba-doo. I'm
This
going...
one, for me, had more hits than misses. It only had one miss,
I'm going to go to
basically.
4.3.
I think I'm going to give it a 4 point... I don't want to say 4.3, but I don't want to give it a 4, and I don't want to give it a 4.5.
Well, there are 3 other numbers in between.
4.35.
Nope, 4.4 is what that rounds to.
4.3. It doesn't deserve a 4.4.
Victoria has a very sharp gradation.
I'm like looking at a rock under a microscope.
Mm-hmm.
No, and I'm like a dog chasing.
Goodbye, everyone. That is the end of the podcast forever. Next time we're talking about The Last Straw, I think, and 3 Funerals and a Wedding Part 1 with special guest.
Special guest.
Yeah. Who will it be? Such a surprise. Find out next time. Until then, thank you for joining us on our side of the YouTube. I'm Francis Miller.
Like a dog.